let's get right into it. If you think about chemistry as this grand story about how our universe works, then measurement and units, well, they're the language that story is written in. They're the alphabet, the grammar, the very words that let scientists understand and talk about our world. And just so we're all on the same page, this explainer is part 17 of our 20-part series diving into an introduction to chemistry, all coming from Virtualization Options LLC. Today, we're really getting into the nuts and bolts of how chemistry happens. So let me ask you this. How can a scientist in Tokyo look at some notes from a lab in Toronto, literally halfway across the globe, and recreate an experiment so perfectly it's like they were in the same room? It sounds simple, but when you think about it, that's a pretty incredible feat. Well, the answer is they're speaking the same language, not English or Japanese, but a universal language of numbers. Scientists all over the world have agreed on a single system for all their measurements, and it's called the International System of Units, or just SI for short. And this is absolutely crucial. I mean, can you imagine the chaos if one lab used a dash of something and another used a smidgen? Science would just grind to a halt. Without these shared standards, you can't check anyone's work, you can't build on discoveries, you can't collaborate. It is the very bedrock of modern science. Now, if you're going to speak this language, you have to know its grammar. And in measurement, the two most important rules are accuracy and precision. They sound kind of similar, I know, but in science, they mean two completely different things. Think about it like a game of darts. Accuracy is how close you get to the bullseye. That's the true, correct value. Precision is how close your darts are to each other. So you could have a really tight cluster of darts, super precise, but if they're all in the corner of the board, you're not accurate at all. In chemistry, you need both. You have to be both accurate and precise. So let's talk about the basic vocabulary of this language. In a lab, just like in your kitchen, you're constantly measuring a few basic things. How heavy something is, how much space it takes up, and of course, how hot or cold it is. First up is mass. In the lab, we usually talk about mass in grams. And all mass really is a measure of how much stuff, how much matter is actually in an object. And to give you a real-world feel for that, just picture a regular paperclip. The mass of that paperclip is about 1 gram. Yeah, it's a tiny amount, but chemistry is a science that happens on these incredibly small scales. Next, we have volume, and this is all about space, how much room something takes up. The standard unit here is the liter, which you're probably pretty familiar with already. And that water bottle you might have on your desk right now, that's probably about half a liter, so 2 of those make 1 liter. It's a perfect example of a unit that's just as useful in everyday life as it is in the laboratory. And finally, we've got temperature. We're all used to Celsius, but in science, we often use Kelvin. Why? Because the Kelvin scale starts at absolute 0, the coldest possible temperature in the universe, where all atomic motion stops. And since it has no negative numbers, it makes a lot of the math and chemistry work out perfectly. Okay, so we can measure mass, volume, and temperature. We can handle the things we can see and feel. But what about the heart and soul of chemistry, the atoms and molecules themselves? This is the big problem, right? You can't just pick up individual atoms and put them in a pile to count them. There are trillions and trillions of them in the tiniest speck of dust. So how on earth do chemists count something that's totally invisible? They came up with a really clever solution. They invented a special unit just for counting, and it's called the mole. The best way to think of it is like the word dozen. A dozen always means 12, right? A dozen eggs, a dozen roses, it's just a number. Well, a mole is just a number too, but it's a much, much bigger one. And what a number it is. 1 mole of anything contains this many particles, 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd power. That's a 62 with 21 zeros after it. It's an almost unbelievably huge number, known as Avogadro's number, and it's the magical bridge that lets chemists connect the microscopic world of atoms to the world that we can actually weigh and measure. So let's bring this all back together. We have our units, our grammar, our special counting number. Why does it all matter? Because in chemistry, being precise isn't just about being neat and tidy. Precision is power. This shared language means experiments are reproducible, period. It allows for global collaboration. It forms the very foundation of all quantitative chemistry. And ultimately, it's what turns chemistry from just watching cool color changes into a powerful predictive science that can create new medicines and revolutionary technologies.
A textbook I once read put it perfectly. Chemistry is a quantitative science. It relies on precise measurement. And that's really the whole takeaway here. Without the numbers, without the units, modern chemistry as we know it simply would not exist.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. If measurement is the language of science, as we get better and better at speaking that language, as our tools get more and more precise, what new conversations can we have? What new secrets about our world are we just about to unlock?